Hey guys, Chad here from Take It or Leave It, here with the top 10 biggest pleasant surprises of 2025. And just as a reminder, this is not the best films of the year or my top 10 favorite films of 2025. That's a different list. That list is coming soon. The qualifications for a pleasant surprise generally falls into one of two scenarios. The first is when I take a leap of faith and I go into a film pretty much blind. I haven't heard anything about it, and then the film blows me away. The second scenario is when I've seen a movie poster, maybe a trailer or two for a film, and then I go into the movie with low expectations, and then those expectations are shattered. Alright, with that down, let's get into the 10th biggest surprise of 2025 for me, which is Hysteria. When a burned Quran is found on a film set, the crew is thrown into turmoil. Caught in the crossfire of accusations, intern Elif is drawn into a dangerous game of secrets and lies, finding herself at the heart of an all-absorbing conspiracy. Nobody talked about this movie, and I think that's because it's only available on Mubi in Turkey, but man, this film has finally constructed ambiguity that leads to no easy answers and encapsulates the frog in boiling water metaphor, because it's not debating something like, genocide, something that's not debatable, it's just unacceptable and horrifying and evil. Burning the Quran, or any sacred religious text for that matter, for artistic purposes, that's gray territory stuff. That's a much more interesting debate to be had. And if that sounds interesting to you, then definitely give this slow burn mystery psychological thriller a chance when it eventually gets a wider streaming release, or just use a VPN if you have Mubi. And at number 9, we have The Severed Son. Magpie lives in an isolated church community ruled over by her father, the pastor. When a man is murdered, paranoia sets in and people start to whisper about a strange beast that lives in the forest. I hadn't seen a trailer for this, but the poster had me convinced it might be worth giving a shot, so I went into it with pretty low expectations, and I'm glad I did because I thoroughly enjoyed this folk horror film, in particular for its gorgeous, ominous, and otherworldly setting. Fans of The Witch, Apostle, The Wicker Man, and Midsommar should also take note of this film. And at number 8, we have Anemone. In northern England, a man heads out on a journey into the woods to reconnect with the estranged hermit brother with whom he shared a complicated past that was altered by life-changing events decades ago. I'm highly skeptical of movies made by Nepo babies. I think The Watchers scarred me for life, but I couldn't resist seeing Daniel Day-Lewis again, even if I didn't expect much from this film going into it. And it's only one data point, but it appears that the apple didn't fall far from the tree, because I think Ronan Day-Lewis killed it with this existential psychological drama. This film hypnotized me in the best of ways, and it's rare that a single look at the end of a film can provide all of the payoff that I needed. Leave it to Daniel Day-Lewis, am I right? And the 7th biggest pleasant surprise of 2025 is Abigail Before Beatrice. An isolated woman is confronted by her past when a fellow former cult member reaches out with news that their leader has been released from prison early. I heard about this film via a similar and smaller movie called So Fades the Light, which you should also take note of, and nobody was talking about either of these films, only the synopsis inspired me to give this a try. But Abigail Before Beatrice is absolutely worth a look, considering this non-linear film shows us the horrific effects of escaping a cult from multiple people's perspectives, including from those who don't necessarily see themselves as victims. Fans of Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, or the docuseries Wild Wild Country, Seduced, Inside the Nixum Cult, and The Vow should definitely partake. And at number 6, we have Marshmallow. When a once fabled campfire tale becomes real, a group of campers uncover a profound secret that changes everything. I expected this to be a pure 80s nostalgia, summer camp comedy slasher, and boy, I was just flat out incorrect about that. I mean, don't get me wrong, this movie is those things for the first 2 acts of the film, and it does those things very, very well. But I never saw the 3rd act twist coming, and I really appreciate this film for swinging for the weird and shattering my expectations. Alright, with 5 down and 5 to go, the next pleasant surprise is Custom. A couple producing custom erotic films is dragged into a nightmarish conspiracy when they start working for a mysterious client. Arguably the least talked about film on this list, I went into this one with very cautious and hopeful optimism based on the trailer, with heavy emphasis on cautious considering that I just saw nobody talking about this film anywhere. And man, I'm telling you, for any fellow Cronenberg fans out there, I definitely recommend that you also give this film a shot. Not only for the Cronenberg-isms, but also I really appreciated the nightmarish conspiracy mystery at the center of the story. It definitely kept me at the edge of my seat. And at number 4, we have The Girl with the Needle. Copenhagen, 1919. A young worker finds herself unemployed and pregnant. She meets Dagmar, who runs an underground adoption agency. A strong connection grows, but her world shatters when she stumbles on the shocking truth behind her work. I only heard about this film because it was nominated for Best International Feature Film, but the complete lack of buzz outside of this nomination had me suspicious. And straight up, objectively speaking, this may be the best made film on any of my lists this year. It's a gorgeous black and white odyssey that isn't afraid to explore the gray territory, no pun intended. And while this film didn't make my top 10 favorite films of the year, it clearly deserves a lot more attention than it's gotten, considering how well crafted it is. Alright, we're now breaking into the top 3 biggest pleasant surprises of 2025 with The Drowned. After pulling an art heist, 3 men arrive at a secluded coastal safe house to discover their 4th accomplice is missing. Was one of them responsible, or is there a more malevolent force at play? This is another movie I heard little to nothing about, and despite the really shitty poster, I gave it a chance, but I didn't have my hopes up. And good thing I did, because this little indie sci-fi horror film is everything I want mainstream entertainment to strive for. Fans of The Lighthouse, Kill List, The Evil Dead, and You'll Never Find Me should also add this film to their watch list. And at number 2, we have Rabbit Trap. Married couple Daphne and Darcy Davenport are 2 musicians who moved from London to a cottage in Wales to complete their new album. By accident, they record a mystical sound never heard before and gradually disconnect from reality. Now, this one is frustrating because I skipped this for the longest time because of really poor reviews. But thank God my friends at Sinister Cinema Reviews convinced me otherwise, because I definitely vibed with this little folk horror gem with a small yet brilliant cast. And while this doesn't always work, I appreciated how vague and mysterious this film is regarding its folk mythology, as it kept me interested and intrigued the entire film. And finally, the biggest pleasant surprise of 2025, the film that I had some of the lowest expectations for and was looking forward to the least out of any movie this year, is, believe it or not, Thunderbolts. After finding themselves ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of anti-heroes must go on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront the darkest corners of their pasts. Listen, after Captain America New World Order, or whatever it's called, I had no interest in Marvel's version of Suicide Squad. But I promised my nephew I'd bring him to see this movie. And congratulations, universe, you win. I never would have guessed that this would turn out to be my favorite MCU movie since Endgame. Yes, I know, that's a low bar, but still, at the center of this film is its endearing characters that I completely empathized with, including the villain, who I may have appreciated even more than Thanos and Loki. I mean, dude, those eyes, come on, that shit is terrifying. And considering that I had originally planned to see this film a big fat 0 times in theaters, just to see this film 3 times in theaters, twice of which were voluntary viewings. I mean, come on, I think that's as good of an indicator as any that Thunderbolts was clearly my biggest pleasant surprise of 2025. But those are just my thoughts, take it or leave it. What do you guys think? What do you think of my biggest pleasant surprises of 2025 list? Does it look like yours? Are there any pleasant surprises that made your list that didn't make mine? Let me know down in the comments section. Let's talk about it. And spoiler alert, I'll be coming out with videos for my biggest disappointments of 2025 and my top 10 favorite films of 2025. So keep an eye out for those being posted soon. And if you enjoyed this video but you want more information about what's on my watch list, what I'm currently watching, the kind of ratings I'm giving these films, as well as upcoming releases I'm looking forward to, don't forget to follow me on track.tv. My username is TIOLI_reviews. The link is in the description box. Go ahead and click it and start following me on Tracked, and I look forward to seeing you over there. And as usual, guys, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I really appreciate it. Don't be afraid to hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, I'm Chad from Take It or Leave It, and I'll check you later.
Check you later. Check you later.
Hey man, get off my case.
Oh man. Chicks don't want to hear that shit.